and about $2 million for loan loss reserve funds. The strategy that we had developed to support the Green Jobs, Green New York program first looked at providing multiple forms of financing to homeowners and business owners to support efforts. We thought that allowing customers to select from multiple forms of financing would allow them to select methods that work best for them, and also could serve as a test on the consumer receptivity to different forms of energy efficiency financing approaches. So we had originally attempted to offer 3 different forms of financing. The first would be a property assessed clean energy type approach, whereby a homeowner or business owner could avail themselves of financing and repay it back through a charge on the property tax bill. The second form of financing would be on-bill recovery, where the homeowner or business owner would receive financing and then repay it back through a utility bill. And the third form of financing would be more of a direct loan obligation between a lending organization and the borrower. The PACE approach was one that we worked on in late 2009 and into early 2010. And as many on the webinar may know, in the spring of 2010, federal regulators issued notices indicating that this form of financing had the potential to dilute the interests of mortgage lenders. And as a result of that action, we put the PACE financing approach on hold. The second form of financing was on-bill recovery. We are working on a pilot program with a national grid company in their upstate market. It's been a little slow, but we're continuing to make progress. And we have also been working on legislation that would authorize on-bill recovery financing on a statewide basis. But to date, we have not yet advanced that legislation, so we don't have that option. So that leaves kind of one approach left standing, which is a kind of a direct loan strategy. In addition to looking at this strategy of different forms of financing, early strategies that we had developed were that we intended to leverage the available funding, that is the RGGI funds and also our DOE Better Building grant funds, with private capital. We recognize that if we're to create the level of scaled energy efficiency investment that we think we have the potential for on a statewide basis, then we have to be able to take these sources of funds that have been pledged and to access, leverage them with additional private capital through the capital markets. The other strategy that we thought was important was that we would work through financial institutions. We don't necessarily think that the problem for energy efficiency financing is a lack of capital, but rather perhaps a lack of information. And we thought that NYSERDA's role could be one of serving as a catalyst to allow for capital to be provided to support energy efficiency by building the infrastructure that would ensure that energy efficiency is delivered with strong standards. And we thought that this would provide confidence to financial markets participants and investors to allow them to lend capital at attractive rates. Okay, some of the program guidelines for our residential efficiency efforts under Green Jobs, Green New York. First, we are building off of existing efforts that we have had here in New York for a decade now, and that's our Home Performance with Energy Star program. Home Performance with Energy Star supports comprehensive energy audits and retrofits that are completed by contractors who are accredited by the Buildings Performance Institute. NYSERDA and New York State were an early pioneer of the Home Performance with Energy Star program, and that effort has now become a national model. In our program, we currently have over 170 actively participating contractors on a statewide basis. The Green Jobs Green New York energy efficiency effort will support cost-effective measures, and that's defined as measures that will provide savings, anticipated savings over their life that at least equal or exceed the cost of measures. Our Home Performance with Energy Star program also has extensive program quality assurance and quality control standards which are intended to provide consumer safeguards and to help provide the consumers with confidence in participation in the program. And this comes in the form of an independent review and approval of the work that's proposed to be done by our participating contractors. That's done through a implementation contractor that NYSERDA retains. We also have a separate contractor who performs independent post-implementation inspection of about 15% of the projects. And so those two mechanisms, we think, provide a very strong safeguard to the consumers who participate in the program. We have a dispute resolution process that we use in instances where consumers may think that they're not achieving the energy savings that they were anticipating. And this process ultimately can lead to contractor debarment if a contractor is found repeatedly to be performing inferior work. So, as I said earlier, we've been operating this program for nearly a decade now, and in 2010 we completed over 6,100 retrofits on a statewide basis, and over the life of the program have now completed more than 35,000 retrofits on a statewide basis. But as I said, we're building off of this effort, and we expect that these numbers will improve substantially with the additional efforts being deployed in the Green Jobs Green New York program for outreach and marketing efforts of the constituency-based organizations and our other outreach efforts. To date, our average residential energy efficiency retrofit cost is about $7,700, and the average annual savings per homeowner is about $660 a year. A few more program guidelines that are used. In addition, we do currently provide and will continue to provide as part of Green Jobs Green New York a subsidy to income-eligible participants of 50% of the cost of their energy efficiency work if their income is equal to or less than 80% of the state or area median income. Previously, our program offered consumers the option of either receiving a 10% incentive or receiving program financing, which was provided in the form of an unsecured loan product through Fannie Mae, which had an interest rate of 5.99%. Going forward, as part of Green Jobs Green New York, consumers will be able to qualify for both a 10% incentive and a 50% incentive if they are income qualified, and the balance of the cost of their energy efficiency retrofits can be financed through the Green Jobs Green New York program. Our program also provides a 5% incentive that is paid to contractors for promoting comprehensive efforts, because again, our interests are ensuring that consumers look holistically at their homes and can maximize opportunities for energy efficiency. And so by providing an incentive to the contractors to encourage comprehensive efforts, we have seen improved results. And then the last point on this slide is that consumers may also be able to receive incentives from participating utilities in New York who have been approved for incentives by the Public Service Commission. And so in all cases, consumers are able to avail themselves of all available incentives, and with the balance of their retrofit costs being able to be financed through the program. The next slide covers some program guidelines that will be used in the small commercial and not-for-profit program areas. First, the energy audits or feasibility studies would be delivered through an existing network of contractors that NYSERDA employs. These are our flexible technical assistants or FlexTech contractors. We also have a number of business partner contractors who are organized either by sector or by technology area. The program will provide for 2 tiers of energy audits, one being a more comprehensive effort, and then the second being a more restrictive or specific to a particular technology or equipment area. Much like the residential sector, free audits will be provided for businesses or not-for-profits who have 10 employees or less. The program will support both pre-qualified measures and custom measures, and the installation of the measures would be performed by certified contractors, and we'll continue to try to expand the pool of certified contractors participating in the program. Some of the program guidelines that we're using for the multifamily sector, we are leveraging off of an existing multifamily performance program that is currently operated and funded through our system benefit charge program. That program has a network of approved partners and energy service contractors. Those contractors provide for energy audits, and a quality assurance contractor provides oversight and a review of the work. The energy audits lead to the development of an energy reduction plan, and then the program will allow for the financing of cost-effective measures that are identified through those energy reduction plans. Okay, so now I'd like to talk a little bit about the financing approach that we've used to launch the residential efficiency component. We just recently launched this on November the 15th, so we're not quite 2 months into the launch. The loans for residential energy efficiency are being originated initially through a single lender, Energy Finance Solutions, which is one of 3 Fannie Mae approved lenders. Eventually, we will open up the program on a statewide basis to multiple lenders across the state, and we'll look to do that in 2011. The approach that we're using is for the lenders to originate loans based upon loan underwriting criteria that we've established. The lender closes on a loan, and then NYSERDA will purchase the loan using a portion of the RGGI funds available in the program. The lender is then paid an origination fee to compensate them for their costs in performing the credit review and approval processes, and we've established a fixed fee of $175 that we'll pay to the lenders, and a lender is able to charge an additional fee if needed to cover their costs, which the consumer can then finance. Once the loans are purchased by NYSERDA, they will be serviced by a loan servicer that we've retained, and the purpose of the master loan servicer is to monitor the loan origination practices of the lenders to ensure that the loans conform with our standards, and then to have them provide for loan servicing, that is billing and payment processing, and follow-up on delinquency collection efforts. We currently are using a third-party loan servicer, Concord Servicing Corporation, on an interim basis, and we expect to be issuing an RFP in the next month or 2 to select a permanent master loan servicer for the program. The next slide is just a chart that shows the funding flow for the residential financing. I don't want to spend a lot of time, and I know these materials will be available after the webinar today. So this just shows the relationship of the different parties who are involved and how the funding flow occurs. As I mentioned earlier, participating lenders would originate loans pursuant to standards that NYSERDA has established. And we have established 2 tiers of standards. The first, which we call Tier 1 loans, are loans that meet standards that can be financed in the capital markets. And these are common standards used for consumer lending and certainly standards used by Fannie Mae. The second tier of loans, though, would be loans that could be originated under an alternate criteria, particularly for homeowners who may not meet a credit score requirement. And this is our effort to try to ensure that financing can be provided more broadly to consumers, and particularly to consumers who may not be able to access capital through traditional mechanisms.